Hello and welcome to the Trinity Stamps August 2023 release. We have something for everyone, including fall, back to school, and Halloween in this release, and I hope you enjoy all of it. Be sure to hop along with the creative team here on YouTube and over on Instagram for your chance at a $50 gift card to Trinity Stamps. Like, subscribe, and comment to win. So let's get started. Today I'm working with the 4x8 Witchcraft stamp set that includes this adorable scene and a bunch of little images and some coordinating sentiments all in the same thing. They're super punny and I love all of them. The dies themselves are really unique. You get all of the dies to cut out the sentiments and accessory images and this fun die that cuts just the main witch out of that scene. So it's a stamp that can be used in multiple ways, which I will show you in today's video. But before we get started, I wanted to give you a glimpse at how I've been using the new card maker sketchbook from Trinity Stamps. I am absolutely in love with this new product and have been using it for most of my card designs. It allows you to sketch out your cards before making them and kind of make a note of what products you plan on using. So for my first card, my color palette is simply Copics. I did most of my coloring all with my Copic markers and I'm not doing any ink blending or anything like that. Witchcraft will be definitely my stamp set and I'll be using, I believe, just a couple of the dies, and it's just going to be a basic layered card. I'm going to pull in some scraps of paper and probably pattern paper and then mat it together on some black cardstock. Really simple design, super easy, especially if you enjoy coloring. For my second card today, I do plan on making a flat shaker card, once again using the Witchcraft stamps. I did not assign a color palette to this set or this card design because I wasn't 100% sure when I was sketching it out, but that's the beauty of the sketchbook. It's not concrete, and as you can tell, I am not an artist, so my card designs are super simple and super sketchy when I'm using my sketchbook. It works amazing for me to keep organized. So after I was done sketching, it was time to put my sketches in action. So back to the Witchcraft stamp set, I organized what dies I was going to need, and then obviously I stamped. I chose to do my stamp and coloring off screen to save some time in the video, but you can see I kept it pretty basic. I did use my Copics for all of my coloring today. That is my full scene card, and then this will be my card that I plan on die cutting out. So I will go ahead and die cut that out now and have that all ready to add on to our shaker card. I am making the core components of two cards pretty much simultaneously at the start, so I'm pulling out my die now to die cut the rectangle I need for my A2 card that just is the basic Copic scene. I am using the clean cut A2 layers set A. It's pretty much a staple of mine. Now we'll go ahead and focus on our scene card, so I'm going to slide the die cut aside for my shaker, and then I need to pick out some mats. So I'm taking that same die set, the clean cut layers, and then picking out some larger layers. I will also need a smaller die because I'm going to use the slimline pattern paper set from Trinity Stamps to pick a color. I love the cover sheets to these sets because I can kind of slide my image across and pick which color I think I need. One of my favorite features about the paper pack is it is double-sided. One side has polka dots, the opposite side has these fun diagonal stripes. So I toyed around with which I like better. I ended up going with the stripes and choosing the dark purple as my base. And then I will use that blue as some accent pieces behind my image. After die cutting out those layers, it was time to put together the card. I wavered a lot as to where I wanted to put these little accent pieces for the blue pattern paper and ended up really liking the polka dots just peeking out from the sides underneath that scene panel. So I'm using the Trinity Stamps Glue Friend to glue it all together. I went with a flat card for this, making it super male friendly. And then I'm just lining these little accent pieces about an inch down from the top and an inch up from the bottom, butted right up against the sides. It allowed that scene panel to center perfectly and just gave like the little peekaboo effect from the polka dots. Once it was all glued, I set it aside. I'll add the sentiment in a little bit, and we moved on to working on my shaker. So for this card, I'm using the A2 Layers flat shaker panels from Trinity Stamps, and I'm using one of the dies from that same clean cut A2 Layers die set that I showed earlier in the video. One of those dies completely matches up. I grabbed one of my gel press prints that I did with some acrylic paint earlier this week for this card. You could really use anything. I really liked this transition from teal to purple and thought it went really well for her. So I die cut that using the A2 Layers die, and as you can see, it lines up perfectly with the shaker panel. So at this point, all we're going to use is the tear tape and go along all of the edges of our panel so that acetate can fold over to the back side, making the shaker panel. So when you attach the panel, you want to make sure you leave an opening at the top so you can add in your shaker bits. I grabbed 3 of my favorite shaker bits from Trinity Stamps. They include Run with Scissors, Spacewalk, and Emerald City. I will link to all 3 below in the description box. But one is like this really pretty purple. Then we have Silver Scissors, which I could not resist using with Witchcraft. I thought it was just too perfect. And they're super tiny and they shake so beautifully in the shaker. And then Emerald City is this really pretty teal green. And I thought it really went well considering my gel press pen was the purple to teal. So as you can see, they shake around great. And all that's left is for me to seal that top flap. Now we get to build our die cut scene on top of our shaker panel. So I brought back over my die cuts and set them up kind of how I thought I'd do it. So referencing back to my sketch, I had my die cut scene sitting kind of on top of a sentiment strip. So I'm going to bring in a piece of black cardstock just to kind of mock up where I think everything should go. And it kind of gives a visual as to how complete the scene will look once I'm done. Next, I needed to bring back over the Witchcraft stamp set and pick out my sentiments. So I knew I was going to need 2 sentiments for these cards since I had 2 cards. So I'm actually going to put them both on this piece of black cardstock and emboss one with chrome or silver embossing powder and then one in white to use on my 2 different cards. I figured I would batch emboss so to save on time, so I did them both at the same time. All I'm doing right here is prepping the surface with an anti-static tool, and then I am stamping them in that Ink on 3 Juicy embossing pad. This is also Ink on 3 embossing powder, which is typically my go-to. I really enjoy them because they work really well on these sentiments. You can see I'm doing a little bit of careful powder pouring because I was doing 2 colors, but it is possible. So I grabbed some some tweezers, and then I'm going to just heat set it, and I have 2 sentiments to play with. So let's rebuild our scene really quick and attach it all together. I am using that same wet adhesive. For some of this, I did help hold it with some of that tear tape as well when I glued it all together. It just helps the glue set up since it slides a lot easier on the shaker panel than it would on paper. And that finishes up today's cards. I hope you enjoyed both of my cards and that you hop along to the next person linked in the description box below for your chance to win that $50 gift card. Thanks for stopping by. Be sure to like and subscribe and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.